thought you were, retired.
I can do this all day.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and Captain America himself, Chris Evans, is back in the MCU. The Wrap is reporting that Chris Evans will be appearing in the upcoming Avengers film, Avengers Doomsday, alongside Robert Downey Jr. So we're going to break down everything we know about this reporting, what role Evans will be playing in Doomsday, and a little later I'm going to be joined by two friends, Tommy Bechtold and Colton Ogburn, to get their thoughts on this move by Marvel and whether it's desperate, brilliant, or maybe both. As always, be sure to check out our links below for our new merch and information for our live show. We just wrapped up our tour for this year, but we're now selling tickets for next year. It's so much fun. I want to meet you guys in person. So just a few months back, it was confirmed at Comic-Con that Robert Downey Jr. would be returning to the MCU, not as Iron Man, but as Dr. Doom. And we've done lots of videos here on the channel breaking down what this casting means for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, whether or not he'll be a Tony Stark variant, and how all of this will play into the Multiverse Saga's final chapter in Avengers Secret Wars. Part of those discussions have been about how bringing back RDJ felt a little desperate on Marvel's part after a lackluster couple of phases following the Infinity Saga. And Robert Downey Jr. wasn't the only back-to-formula move by Marvel. They also brought back the Russo Brothers to direct Doomsday and Secret Wars. Remember, they directed Captain America Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. So it's really not surprising that Marvel is bringing back yet another heavy hitter from the glory days of the MCU with Chris Evans. And with this being the Multiverse Saga, I think it's safe to say we always knew this was a possibility. I thought it was extremely likely that a lot of these OG players would return, at least for a movie or two. But now, with Chris Evans returning, that opens the door for many questions on what his role will be in this new Avengers film. I mean, we've actually already seen Evans make an appearance in the Multiverse Saga as his version of the Human Torch from the first two Fantastic Four films.
Flame on! Sorry, what now?
But I don't think that Evans is returning to play the Human Torch. One, we saw what happened to him in Deadpool and Wolverine. Now granted, they could introduce another variant, I guess, but that kind of cheapens the gag, and it would step on the toes of our new Human Torch, who I'm sure is going to have a significant role in Avengers Doomsday. Now, the last time we saw Chris Evans as Steve Rogers was in Avengers Endgame. After the final battle with Thanos and Tony's sacrifice to save the world, we saw Steve go on a timey-wimey mission to return the Infinity Stones the Avengers had borrowed to their rightful places in time.
You have to return the stones at the exact moment you got them. You're going to open up a bunch of nasty alternative realities.
We then see him return, not through the Hulk's time machine though. He pops up on a bench as an old man who has lived an entire life with Peggy.
Well, after I put the stones back, I thought maybe I'll try some of that life Tony was telling me to get.
Now, it's still unclear if this Steve was meant to always have been in the MCU, kind of lurking in the background. Marcus and McFeely, the writers of Infinity War and Endgame, said that that was their intention. But the Russos gave interviews that implied that Steve lived his life in another timeline. But then he returned to the main timeline somehow without landing on the Time Machine platform. Now, that's a video for another time. But the point is, right now, Steve Rogers' Captain America is still in the mainline MCU as this elderly version of himself.
Yeah, but I thought he was on the moon.
I thought Captain America was on the moon.
Ah, geez, person.
Oh, what's the problem, buddy? You don't like that Chris Evans is coming back to the MCU?
He is? No, I guess that's okay. I'm just trying to find a Christmas present for my dad because he is ever so hard to shop for.
Oh my God, I know so many people who are exactly like that. And I think you should always try to get people something unusual, something you can't just find by doom scrolling on your phone. You know, like my watch.
Oh yeah, my dad would love that watch.
Oh, you like it? Well, actually, we could get him this watch. It's called Oscar, and it's made from walnut and marble, made by Holzkern, the sponsor of this video.
Oh, that's really cool.
Right? Holzkern specializes in one-of-a-kind products made from wood and other natural materials. And your dad will like it because it is so unique and special. Like for instance, on my watch, the dial is made from a poplar fig leaf. See, that's what I really love about Holzkern. They make their products in small quantities, so every item meets a high standard of quality that's going to last you a very long time. That's why they make for perfect gifts. They're made from natural materials, and I like knowing that all of their wood is FSC certified, and they are working to fight deforestation.
Well, that's good for my dad, but what about my mom?
Well, actually, Holzkern makes products for women too, so you could get your mom this beautiful composition gem necklace made from moonstone and silver. It's unique, natural, and truly one of a kind. If you click the link in the description and use our discount code ScreenCrush, you'll get 15% off. Holzkern also offers free express worldwide shipping from their beautiful home in Vienna, and they pay the customs fee for you. Products typically arrive within 2 to 5 business days, and get this, all orders placed by December 19th are guaranteed to arrive by Christmas Day. So again, click our link in the description, use our discount code ScreenCrush, and get your loved one a gift that is truly unique and special.
Yeah, I got the watch for my dad. Dad, did you like it?
Doug, I gotta tell you something, son. I love this watch. And well,
I'm proud of you, son. Now, back to Chris Evans. So the question becomes, is Chris Evans just returning to play this older version of Steve that we saw in Endgame? Or will he be a variant from another universe, such as the universe that Robert Downey Jr.'s Doom comes from? Will he even be playing Captain America, or will he be playing a villain like Robert Downey Jr.? Now, I know that Colton and Tommy have some great theories that I cannot wait to share with you guys. I want to get their thoughts on whether or not this is a good idea, some theories on how he's going to return, and I want to know, does this completely undermine Sam Wilson's Captain America? So Colton Ogburn, you're the guy who's trapped in the television but doesn't know it, so please don't tell him. What is it you think about Captain America return, or Chris Evans returning to the MCU? What's your thoughts on this?
Well, he's already returned once recently, of course, as Johnny Storm, as we talked about. I think we can all assume, and maybe we'll get into this, that he is returning as Captain America for Avengers Doomsday. I'm not surprised at all. They seem to be bringing back everyone. I love Chris Evans as Captain America, as Steve Rogers. It was going to be a little odd to have an Avengers movie without him. They brought back RDJ as Doom, so that, brought back this like nostalgia type feeling and like this warm, it's okay, type feeling with Marvel Studios kind of being for the past few years. So having RDJ in the next Avengers movie was kind of comforting in a sense, maybe a little desperate, but also comforting. So yeah, having Chris Evans come in there, having him very likely playing Cap, I think it's a great idea. I'm excited to see it.
Tommy.
I'm ready. I think once it was announced that we're going to be doing Secret Wars, and especially once it was announced that Robert Downey Jr. was coming back, I was ready for Chris Evans to return. I think like he is, to me, the first actor that gave weight to the obligation or the honor of playing one of these beloved superheroes. Like Robert Downey Jr. crushed as Tony Stark, but he was always kind of whimsical about it. Like, isn't it funny that I'm playing kind of like the man I used to be in the 90s, like an alcoholic, out of control rich guy? Yeah. Chris Evans made it like I am a thespian that is playing Captain America, and this role is important to me. This role matters. And subsequently, I think set the tone for the other actors that have played these roles in the MCU. I think that him coming back is necessary to kind of, land the ship in this current iteration of the MCU. They have tried to introduce a lot of characters, some successfully, some less successfully. But if you're going to do Secret Wars, we want all of our old friends back. We want, we want these characters back. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't feel like it's a cheap, inflate raft in case of emergency move to me. It feels like it's a very pragmatic, logical move, especially once Robert Downey Jr. came back.
Well, I want to get to theories for this in a second. Overall, though, I'll tell you, I don't like it. And what you said about Chris Evans being the first to land gravitas, I would say that's true in the MCU, but truly the first person to do that was Christopher Reeve. Like Christopher Reeve was
I don't want all the Reeve. I don't want the Reeve squad coming at me. I mean, just in terms of the MCU. Brought forth by Kevin Feige. Yes,
Tommy hates Chris, confirmed.
Yeah, when it comes to my boy Christopher Reeve in those original Superman movies, I'm pretty much a hardcore stan. My thing about Chris Evans is, right now, like I said, I want to get to theories in a second. For me, it does depend on how they do it. But I think it is desperate, right? And Tommy, you said they've tried to introduce people. I would argue they haven't tried to introduce people. They, it's like Kevin in The Office with this pot of chili. They're just carrying it around and then it fell everywhere. You don't introduce people by having one movie, one TV show, and then no follow-up, right? If you want Shang-Chi to be a major star in the MCU, you introduce him and then you team him up in an Avengers movie. This is why we like the MCU. They had this tried and true method, and for some reason, they threw it out because everybody had this idea that Avengers movies have to be epic crossovers. But they don't have to be. And if they were going to make the whole point of the multiverse saga to be there's no Avengers, then we should have seen consequences for that in ground level movies. We should have seen the Young Avengers already. We should have seen the absence of the Avengers have a tangible effect. But we haven't, because they've just been churning out new characters instead of actually focusing in and saying, here's our team, here's who we're introducing. Hell, even like the RPK, I think, recently posted a rumor that Avengers Doomsday, part of the cast is going to be like members of the Fantastic Four. And I'm like, well, that's not an Avengers movie. Damn it. That's a crossover movie you're calling the Avengers, but they shouldn't call it Avengers Doomsday. They should call it Marvel Doomsday. Although that's probably a little too close to home. I do think that they, we read reports of this when Iger came back. They were looking to bring back Evans and Downey. Now, I will say, though, my big problem with Downey was that he's playing a character who's already established in the comics, and there's too many weird variables there. With Evans, there's a lot of fun possibilities. But first, before we get into like theory crafting, what do you guys think about my points that this sucks and it shows lack of imagination?
I understand your frustration. I mean, it does feel like Marvel has been extremely reactionary with the multiverse saga. I mean, as we've discussed in previous videos, they were kind of looking at abandoning the whole Kang thing before the controversy with Jonathan Majors happened.
Yeah, before he was arrested,
and I think that would have been extremely, an extremely bad move on their part. Granted, all that stuff ended up happening and they ended up going that route. I don't know. It is desperate, yes, but we do have to remember, Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., they carried this franchise. And if they are going to have more Avengers movies, I don't mind the idea of him being there, especially with, I think Robert Downey Jr. coming in as Doom is way more of a whoa type thing than having Chris Evans come back as Captain America, because we have to remember he's still alive. I mean, he's Joe Biden right now in the MCU, but he's still alive. He's there.
He does look like Joe Biden.
He looks
got a higher approval rating, though.
Yeah. But I take all of your points, but as usual, I think you're wrong. But
Tommy, what about you?
Come on, man. I think that I'll be honest, Ryan. For once, I'm not disgusted with your rebuttal. I think you made a good point. No, I think that's fair. I don't necessarily say that. I don't feel like they abandoned characters. I feel like they just tried to introduce a lot of characters that don't have. They're not introducing Spider-Man, Captain America back into the fold. They're introducing, Echo and She-Hulk and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I just named 2 female characters because I'm an incel. But I think that
you could also say there's other characters maybe they didn't deploy very well.
Sure,
like Moon Knight, for example.
Yes.
The show, my God, yes. Oscar Isaac in that role should have been a slam dunk, but the show was a little, dragged in places. Yeah, I take your meaning.
Absolutely, and I mean, Agatha is one of my favorite things I've seen in a while. So I do love women. I'm on record as
Agatha has women in it, so you like
so women. Yeah, shows. You can imagine good. How close I was to vomiting during most of those episodes. But let me just say, I think you are right that the half-bakedness of the introduction of those characters never allowed any of them. I mean, the fact that the last time we saw Shang-Chi on the screen was 5 years ago? Last time. 3 years ago?
But had the pandemic not happened, it would have been obviously everything would have been different. But
yeah, it feels so like different. 5 years ago.
Yeah, it feels like a long time, and we've had no real reminders of that character in subsequent things. And it's like, I mean, I don't know. Moonwalking away from that does feel a little dangerous, but it's an Avengers movie, and Captain America is the first Avenger. Steve Rogers is the first Avenger. Sam Wilson is a great Captain America now, and I don't want to diminish that. Steve Rogers should be in this movie. I don't know if he should be Captain America. We can talk about that later. But Steve Rogers should be in this movie. He's the first Avenger. It's an Avengers movie. It's like a WWE Legends contract. They can all come back for WrestleMania. They don't have to wrestle on Mondays and Fridays, but they got to come back for WrestleMania.
It's like doing that without The Undertaker. I take your meaning. Go ahead, Colton.
I have to say, I am a little surprised, actually, that it's Doomsday. Like, had you told me Chris Evans is going to reprise his role as Captain America in Secret Wars, I would not have been surprised at all. I think everybody is going to be in Secret Wars.
Sure.
It is a little like, head-scratching that it's Doomsday. I did think Doomsday would be more of a traditional type Avengers movie, and then Secret Wars would be this big multiversal crossover. Before we move on to the next thing, Ryan, I just wanted to compliment you on your Office reference with Kevin and the chili, because that was a layered thing you did there with
Thank you
Kevin
so much.
Feige.
Thank you
Kevin,
so much.
yeah, very nice.
I didn't even get the Kevin thing intentionally. You're giving me way too much credit for that.
I like it. Take the win.
Oh, I'll take it and run, baby. The live shows recently have taught me when to shut up, and the number of times I've been on stage during our live shows, which you have links for this below, and things have been going really well, but then I just kind of go off on a weird tangent, that especially when we do our live video essay build. What was it? We did Chicago a few days ago. Great show, great crowd. We came up with a video we're definitely going to do. And I 100% took the video in the wrong direction, realized it. And then I was like, and actually, this is when Doug would remind me to not do that. So thank you for the compliment. Speaking of taking things in the wrong direction, besides live show links are below. And by the way, let us know on our Discord what you guys think of all this, and our merch store links are below. You've heard this, you know the drill. I want to bring something up, though, the theories of it. Now, my big problem with Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom, and, you know, Colton, we've gone toe-to-toe on this, is I don't want to see Dr. Doom be a Tony Stark variant. I just don't. Like, I've read the comics for years. I have my very own ideas of I have Dr. Doom stuff all around me right now here in the store. But with Chris Evans, like you said, he is alive. And I've always thought, and I don't think I'm going to get much disagreement here, that these characters are characters first, and they don't necessarily have to be embodied by the same people over and over. We could do a version of Tony Stark that is not a wisecracking Dr. Doom, who could be more like the kind of staid conservative guy that we knew from comics before Robert Downey Jr. had the role. I've always thought Steve Rogers should stay in the MCU. There's precedents in the comics, like Bucky, Falcon. They both became Captain America for a while, but ultimately Steve Rogers is Captain America, right? I mean, eventually he will be again. Anthony Mackie's great in the role. He's going to graduate out of the role. They all do, and then they should recast somebody as Steve Rogers. Yeah, that being said, you make a great point. He is in the MCU. There's some comic precedents for this, but I want to get your guys' thoughts. Like, what are your theories on how and when and if, and is he going to be a variant? Is he going to be an evil variant? I got my thoughts, but I want to hear from you guys first. Tommy, how is he going to appear?
Sure. You know, I think of, you know, kind of the way that I almost like my kind of wild card prediction is that we have precedent that these guys that get the super soldier serum can perform well into a senior citizen's age with Carl Lumley's portrayal of Isaiah Bradley, right? Mm-hmm. What better way than for Joe Biden Cap, to sacrifice himself to try to stop Victor Von Doom? One last Downey Jr., Chris Evans face-off as Old Man Cap with all the physical trait, a 90-year-old that moves like a 40-year-old, you know, something amazing, like the super soldier serum surging up one last time. And by the way, I'm 40 and I move like a 90-year-old, so I was about
to say, yeah, for me it's the exact opposite.
Right.
I have to buy a special mouse just to lift my arm now.
I have to buy a legion of mice to carry me around, so we both have mouse problems. So yeah, I'd like to see something. I'd like to see Old Man Cap get an on-screen death. I'd like to see a Twilight Avenger putting on the suit one last time, putting on the cowl, and go out in a blaze of glory against a diabolical Downey Jr. So
worked for Michael Keaton. Colton, what do you think?
May I paint a picture based off of Tommy's theory there? I just got this vision in my head as he was talking. Okay, so we've got all the Avengers fighting Dr. Doom. Doom's wrecking shop. It comes down to Sam Wilson. He has his moment, like Steve Rogers did in Endgame, where, you know, he's tightening the shield.
I got chills.
Yeah, and then Sam, you know, he's going up against Doom alone. Doom takes him down. You know, Sam puts up a really good effort, knocks him down. We see the shield fly. You know, it's bouncing on the floor. And then we see the shield get picked up, just like the Mjolnir hammer.
Hey, man, on your left.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Come on, man, on your left.
Yeah, and it's old man Steve Rogers. But if I could throw in my theory, in Endgame, we saw with Hulk's time machine that time can be passed through a person.
I was about to say that. I was about to say the same thing. Keep going, absolutely.
Well, no, I'll let you take it away. Explain.
No, it's all you, man. It's all you. It's a great theory. I want to hear you say it.
Well, we saw when they tried sending Scott Lang back in time, they weren't doing it right. Tony explains you're sending time through him instead of him through time. We see Scott Lang become an old man, become a baby. So why not take Joe Biden, Steve Rogers, bring him in. Hey, we need your help, man. He's probably reluctant at first, but they do it anyway. Throw him in the quantum van or whatever. Boom, walks out, pristine, you know, sexiest man alive, Chris Evans as a reformed Captain America.
So my theory is a little bit adapted from this, right? And look, when I say I don't like Chris Evans coming back, what I'm really saying is I wish Marvel would have actually done the legwork to set up other people in a better way and more consistently. I'll never get over. It's like, Colton, your thing is always like Obi-Wan should have been a movie. My thing is we should have already had 2 Avengers movies. Like this whole thing is silly. But like I said, no one's going to cry over, you know, I've never heard anybody be like, nah, I think actually for MCU fan, I don't like it. No one's ever said that, right?
Ryan, to your point, we should have had, 2 Avengers movies that were more like the original that introduced these new characters. And then right now we should all be getting excited for this big multiversal Avengers movie that does bring them back. Sorry.
Only thing, that's okay. The only thing I can think is originally post-pandemic, Secret Wars was supposed to come out next year, and the same year as the other one. I think that they were just getting pressure from Disney. We want like a $5 billion movie ASAP, and because of COVID driving things down. Bob Paycheck left, and they were able to like pace it out. Point is, what I would like to see happen is, you're right, old man Steve Rogers in the MCU. He is so retired, everybody thinks he's dead and he's an urban myth. He might be on the moon, this and that. In the comics, the same thing happened. The super soldier serum kind of ran out in his body. He aged, but then he took a job with S.H.I.E.L.D. And I don't remember if he was the director or not. Let me know in the comments or Discord if he was. But he worked for S.H.I.E.L.D., and that's when he gave the S.H.I.E.L.D. to Sam Wilson, right? Bucky picked it up when Cap died for a while, and he chose Sam as he was still there. So it's a little more like that in the MCU. So let's presume he's retired. I don't think Doom is going to be the villain in Doomsday, right? I think the villain are going to be Incursions. And I think Doom, as Robert Downey Jr., and this is why it's kind of perfect, is going to help. And we're going to trust him because he's Robert Downey Jr. Maybe he doesn't even have the scarred face yet, so people can see who he is. And he's going to earn everybody's trust. And the Fantastic Four can show up and tell the 616 Avengers, hey, this guy's bad news. Trust me, he's a villain in our dimension. They're like, well, you must be bad guys because we know Tony Stark really well. And if Tony were to show up in our universe, one person who would be able to verify or who he would ask for help would be his old friend Steve Rogers. Like, Steve would come out of retirement to help against Incursions. I think the reason, we talked about this earlier, Marcus and McFeely said that they thought that Steve Rogers was in the MCU the entire time, right? He was a pallbearer at Peggy's funeral. It's a silly theory. The Russo brothers thought that he was in another dimension, doesn't matter, no one cares. The point is, he was able to step back and retire for decades because he knew what was going to happen. He knew it turned out okay. But when the Multiverse saga hits, he doesn't know what's going to happen, so then he would come out of retirement. Then I think I could see a moment where he's working with Doom Jr., Robert Doomey Jr., and he, because he's Captain America, sees, it's like, Fury or faux Fury noticing that Mysterio is full of it, going, this isn't right. And then he can be the guy who tells everybody or, uncovers this. And it could be too late. And he could die at the last minute. Then I think in Secret Wars, they move time through him. The difference is, I think that after they move time through him and he becomes younger, you recast the character. That way Chris Evans gets to walk away and he doesn't have to go in that high protein diet once again. And you can have another actor have his take on the character.
Ryan, I was with you all the way until the recast. No.
You got to recast him eventually, man.
I agree. I agree you have to recast him eventually, but I don't think you recast him at the de-aging moment.
Well, it's a good moment to do it. I mean, otherwise you recast him after the universes are reformed, because that's when you would recast everybody, ideally.
Wait, yes. What if they don't realize that the old man Cap is a different Cap? And they only realize it once they de-age him, and he's like, I don't know. He's Miles Teller or something like that.
No. I'm the one who complained about Marvel dumping chili everywhere.
No, when they de-age him, we just see young Senator Biden walk out.
Yeah. We comb over and all, right?
Yeah. We see Slick Joe riding an Amtrak.
I remember getting flack on our Endgame video. Like, Joe Biden wasn't even running for president when Endgame came out. And I said, oh my God, this guy looks like Joe Biden now. And I got like political flack. And I'm like, objectively, the man looks like the former vice president of the United States when he's old.
You weren't endorsing him.
It was literally just me going, hey, you know who he looks like? Right. This famous guy that we've all seen on the news. If you watch the news.
It's not an insult either. Hey, good looking.
It's like when people tell me I look like John Candy. It's not a aesthetically flattering comparison, but you can't deny he's talented.
Okay, so all of this is fun, right? We're fanficking, and I will admit this: the fanficking for Chris Evans returning is so much more fun than fanficking for Robert Doomey Jr., right? With Robert Doomey Jr., I think we're all, like at our live shows, I keep asking people, what do you guys think of it? And the reply, Colton, is always what? Reluctance, we don't know what this is. I do think all it'll take is one truly great scene to win people over, which we might be getting next year in the Fantastic Four. But Chris Evans coming back is exciting, right? I still wish, though, that we had, like, Brave New World isn't even out yet. Chris Evans has done a great job saying, nope, Anthony Mackie is Captain America right now. And yet, we've had this TV show, which is pretty good, and now we got this movie. But there's not, Anthony Mackie appeared more times as Sam Wilson in the years 2014 and 2015 than he has in the past 4 years, right? Mm-hmm. I just want him to have his chance to lead this team to be Captain America. What do you guys think? Is this screwing over that character?
It's undeniably a little bit watering down the character, at least, no matter what angle you attack it from. But I just think that the opportunity to bring back Steve Rogers not as the prime Captain America in the MCU could potentially bolster Sam Wilson. Like if Chris Evans is back as Steve Rogers, emphatically stating that Sam Wilson is Captain America, in a way he's directing the audience to also accept that fact. On one hand, I feel like Anthony Mackie as an actor and as a person who wants probably the Marvel Cinematic Universe to be as good as possible is going to be like, yeah, bring Chris Evans back, that'll be great. But for fans of the Sam Wilson character, I would be a little discouraged by it. I mean, I like Anthony Mackie as an actor. The Sam Wilson character was much stronger to me in those earlier years, like you said, and as kind of, to me, the COVID reshoots of Falcon and Winter Soldier kind of made the show a little bit like, not COVID reshoots, the reshoots. I'm sorry, I got confused by which one was reshot, or was it that?
Oh, there were some reshoots, yeah.
Yeah.
There was never a virus storyline. That was a rumor.
Yeah.
But they did.
Oh, okay. So, yeah.
I think they did go in and they, I think they added that Carly Morgenthau was even more villainous or something, if I remember right.
Okay.
I don't quite. Yeah, I could be wrong about that.
I guess what I'm saying is like I thought that the introduction of Sam Wilson was really strong, and I thought he made a great kind of like, not sidekick to Captain America, but like a Bucky proxy for him. Another younger guy he could kind of take under his wing, or a friend he can take under his wing. And I was excited when he became Captain America, but we just haven't gotten that yet. And he probably deserves a full chance to be Captain America before we're already returning.
And maybe he's going to have it. We don't know. Yeah. Like Chris Evans could stay old Cap. It could be a cameo the whole time. We just don't know yet. Colton, what about you? What about Sam Wilson?
Look, I'm not going to deny the fact that, yes, bringing Chris Evans back to play any rendition of Captain America probably does take away a little bit from Sam Wilson's Captain America. I think the same was probably true, as Tom Holland was coming into his own as Spider-Man, and then we bring back Tobey Maguire and Garfield. I mean, it's just kind of a balancing thing. Ultimately, though, I don't think it's going to take away from him too much. There's precedent for this in the comics, right? Haven't they both been like a Falcon Captain America and regular Captain America, like was it in the Secret Wars run or something like that? Mm-hmm. So there's precedent for it, and I think in a post-Secret Wars MCU, Ryan, I know you were saying that maybe we would get a new Steve Rogers at that point. I don't know. I think they're probably going to stick with Anthony Mackie as Captain America. Unless Brave New World bombs. But yeah, I would understand if anyone said that, yeah, it takes away from him a little bit. But I think everything's going to be all right.
Yeah, I tend to think that way too. I will say, though, that, look, if they were going to bring back Chris Evans, I wish it would have been planned well ahead of time. Because the most interesting thing dramatically, if you're going to bring back Chris Evans, you had the story, imagine Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Sam gives the shield away and all this stuff, right? If Steve was alive, I would think he would call Sam up during that and say, why did you give away the shield? Like, he would have been, even though he would have stayed out of the public eye, I think he would have been involved with his friend. However, dramatically, you would want to see these guys go into conflict, right? You want to see them have some kind of disagreement that Sam ultimately would, like similar to Tony and Steve. It's like, I still watch Civil War and I'm still not sure which side I land on. That would have been a little bit more interesting. I do want to flag something, though. There is a way, this is like the last theory I guess I want to talk about. There is a way to bring back Captain America and have it completely make sense, right? Because the great untold story in the MCU is Steve returning the stones. We never saw that. I keep hoping they'll do that as a one-off animated show or something. He's traveling the multiverse during Avengers Endgame at a point when the multiverse, because the events of Loki basically take place during Avengers Endgame, right? So he's traveling the multiverse at a point where it splits off. Steve could have been party to any number of events that saw the birth of Doctor Doom, the destruction of the Council of Kangs. He could literally be that person who was going through and scenes and who could gather together a multiversal Avengers. Now, why he gathered the multiversal Avengers and returned and became old Joe Biden, I don't know. I don't know how that would work, but it is a way if you're going to retcon it and you want him to take a non-Captain America role, that would be really fun to see. I like that.
Preach, man. I 100%.
Like yep.
Do a Disney Plus series of it. Do a movie of it. Have it end with. Go ahead. Yeah.
Or have the first scene in this movie be Steve leaving. And
Yes.
First scene of Doomsday, him leaving. Then we see what happens, and then kind of like how Thanos was our main character in Infinity War. Steve can be our guy hopping us around in this universe.
And at the end of Secret Wars, we see this Steve Rogers travel to 19 whatever it was to join Peggy, and we see the same scene that ended Endgame.
Oh, I love
Nice. They should hire us. They should hire us.
They should hire
Russos,
us.
I hope you're watching right now. Well, look, Colton, Tommy, I want to thank you guys for coming on. Tommy, what are your socials? Are they linked below? What is your story? Where do people find you? Do you exist?
You can find me at Tommy Bechtold on Instagram and X, and you can find me in the streets if you want to square up with the king.
And Colton Ogburn, of course, we know you're always trapped in a television eternally, which he doesn't know, by the way, so don't tell him. Did you hear any of that, Colton?
I missed that last part.
Sorry, where can people find your socials?
Oh, sure. I'm on Twitter or X, Blue Sky, various social media platforms. I also try to stay active on our Discord. So
Our Discord's pretty great. I'll be honest, when I get super busy, I get off all social media, but the first thing I go back to is our Discord server, where we always have like merch drops and our collections and all that fun stuff. We have so much stuff coming out.
I got to get on the
soon.
Discord.
Dude, it's good.
Yes.
I can't believe you're not. You actually should. We don't make any money from the Discord. It's just genuinely like a really non-toxic
I like
place
participating
for us
in
to hang.
Discords. I like
Yeah, it's really
discourse
cool.
on Discords. Yeah.
I need to get better at it because when I go onto Discord for the discourse, I get all these notifications like, okay, and I'm like, well, how do I see them all? Like, I want to be able to go through and look at all the replies, but you know, the longer you go, the more they pile up. But one night I was just hanging out and I was watching Force Awakens and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to live tweet The Last Jedi. And I was like, Twitter sucks. And I went to the Discord and we did like a countdown. It was like an impromptu watch party.
I love it.
And it was fantastic. We're going to do a lot more of those. So I'm not even trying to plug the Discord. I'm just genuinely talking about how much
I think it's very healthy to discuss discourse on the Discord distinctly, honestly.
Yeah. That is a disappointing series of dissertations from you. So I want to hear what you guys have to say about Chris Evans down in the comments or discuss it on our Discord discreetly. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe and smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.